Welcome back from the break, back to today's quarter-final episode of Perspective. So before the break, we had all 6 contestants give their short speeches on the topic of school uniform. And just a quick recap, we have the smart hallows who are against school uniform, and we have the thinkers who today are debating for school uniform. So as I mentioned previously, just before the break, in the second phase, both teams are going to be actually debating against each other. We're going to have one team start off with an opening point or an opening argument, and we're going to see how the opposition team can respond, and we're going to go back and forth from there on out until I call an end to that string of debate and I start a new one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the smart hallows first. Can I ask you guys, one of you guys, to give one of your opening statements / arguments, and we can see how the thinkers respond to that. So any of you, or do I have to pick Moaz? Oh, alright, Moaz it is.
Bullying, uniform is sometimes too expensive for parents to afford, and it normally comes up to about £250 a year just for one child. So imagine how much it is for if a parent has more than one child just for school uniform.
Okay, so per child, uniform can come up to £250 a year. So that can prove to be a huge problem for bigger families or families which have more than just one child. How would you respond to that?
If bullying means that if uniform means that it prevents bullying, it doesn't matter how expensive as long as your child is happy at school.
Okay, so uniform could prevent bullying, and you can't really put a price on the happiness of your child at school.
But at the same time, for some children it's uncomfortable, and if they're wearing their own clothes, they'll feel more comfortable than what they are with what they're forced to wear, like school uniform.
Okay, so we're moving into different sort of arguments here, but never mind. So coming on to the topic of, in terms of how comfortable uniform is, school uniform isn't that comfortable, and it can affect the work of a student in school. So can you respond to that?
School uniform, it firstly looks smart, and if you have to keep up with the latest fashion trends to stop getting bullied by your peers, I think it's a worthy sacrifice for your health and your mental health and learning in general.
Okay, so happiness over being comfortable.
I understand what you're saying is that happiness is something which is needed, but they can get bullied over stuff which isn't just about their clothes. They can get bullied about their race, ethnicity, their religion. It's not always about the clothes. Even some people with clothes, not even the latest clothes, even have friends. But if they're in a lot of schools, there are people who don't actually base it on the clothes and base it on how the people actually are.
Okay, so do you want to add on to that?
Also, people get bullied either way if they're wearing school uniform or not, because it's not all just about clothes. They can be bullied on multiple different things, so they still get bullied whether they're wearing uniform or not.
Okay, so can you guys stop smashing the microphones? I can sense a lot of anger in the studio. Okay, so bullying doesn't always have to revolve around school uniform. There are other factors which can play into someone getting bullied.
But even though there's many factors, it takes away that factor of bullying about clothing brands.
Okay, so even though there are many factors, it still takes away one of those factors, so surely that's better than nothing.
But eventually, other children will learn to respect other people's choices and their styles or whatever.
Okay, so not having school uniform may provide a lesson for eventually accepting and respecting other students' wishes and the way they dress. Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
With school uniform, there's a level ground, as in everyone looks the same. It doesn't matter about ethnicity or race, but what the clothes that they're wearing, it shows that everyone's equal. And say if everyone has the same uniform, no one's gonna question, how much money do you have or something like that, because you're all wearing the same thing.
Okay, so I think I'll call an end to that string of debate there. So that did get a bit heated because you guys were smashing microphones on the table. But so I asked the smart hallows, I asked you guys to start the last string. So now I'm going to come over to the thinkers. Can I ask you guys to give one of your opening arguments or statements? And it looks like it's going to be Ibrahim.
As my colleague Nazmul said in his opening speech, having to buy different sets of clothes, isn't that way more expensive than having to buy one probably expensive suit, but having to buy 5 different sets of clothes because you can't be walking around with the same clothes every day. That's basically going to make people think you're going to be a tramp or something. So to not look like that, you have to buy loads of separate sets of clothes, which cost way more than your £250 was it? I don't know, but that could be more expensive and costly for people.
Okay, so we come back to the economics of school uniform and the idea that if you just buy one school uniform for £250 per student per year, that covers you for the whole of Monday to Friday. Whereas if you have no school uniform, you have to buy an individual outfit for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. So surely that's more expensive.
Well, you could use a washing machine to wash the clothes, you know? Because it doesn't... Surely you can wash the clothes between the next day, you know? You can use a washing machine to wash the clothes. You don't have to wear a new set of clothes every single day. Because there's plenty of time over the weekend to use something called a washing machine to wash the clothes.
Okay, the washing machine. The invention called the washing machine.
But if you're willing to just waste your time washing your clothes, then I'd rather wear school uniform, which is literally the same. And plus, you look like you're a good student. So.
Okay, so school uniform makes you look like you're ready to learn and makes you look like a good student and you're in a professional environment. And if you have to wash your clothes every evening, when are you going to get the time to do your homework?
It's not always, and there's also other packs, like as Nahiyan said, that when you are doing when you are wearing school uniform, you have to go home, get changed, and then wear a separate set of clothes to go to someone's house. As in, if you're going to a tuition, you have to get changed and then you have to go to somewhere else. Whereas if you're wearing school uniform, you just wear the same clothes and then you can go straight to school tuition. So instead of going home and wasting time, you could have spent that time on learning.
But you can wear school uniform to tuition. Like, it doesn't matter if you're wearing, it doesn't matter.
Okay, you can wear school uniform to a tuition.
But you look like a scruff.
Okay.
Also, imagine you've been in, say it's summer and you've been in a hot, sweaty blazer all day. You're not going to be able to concentrate properly on work because you're all uncomfortable and itchy.
School uniform makes you uncomfortable. So how are you meant to focus on your work when you're stuck in a hot blazer?
As you said, blazer can make you feel hot. In school, you're allowed to take your blazer off and put it behind your chair if you feel hot.
Okay, so there's certain measures in the summer. Maybe you don't have to wear a tie. Maybe you don't have to wear a blazer. How would you
They
respond?
still have a shirt, so that can get sweaty too.
Okay, so a shirt can get sweaty too.
And most students, if you look at them, they play around every single day. Like at break time, they play football. At lunchtime, they play something else. They're always going to become sweaty. There's no way to stop that.
In case you don't know, there's something called deodorant.
Okay, so from the washing machine to deodorant, I'm going to call an end for that string of debate. The two biggest arguments used there was the washing machine and deodorant. It's a very interesting one there. I'm going to ask the smart hallows again. Can you guys give another one, perhaps, of your opening arguments, and we'll see how the thinkers can respond.
Say somebody's walking home on their own, they're going to wear a school uniform. There could be somebody watching them, and then they'll be able to realize, oh, look, this child comes from this school. Tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, tomorrow afternoon when they're coming back from home, I'm going to stand by that school and follow them home. So then they're going to know where they come from. Non-school uniform helps them to hide their identity. So if they have school uniform, they can be identified. This student goes to this school, and I'm going to get my gang, and we're going to follow the student, and then we're going to mark him. So that's my argument.
Okay, so school uniform may prove to be a safety concern and may lead to gangs mugging you.
However, say if you do have school uniform on you, then say if you're lost perhaps on a trip, yeah, and you find someone and your school uniform, your name is on your blazer, then the person can contact your school and tell them that you're lost and where you are.
Okay, so if you are lost or if you go on a school trip and you find yourself to be lost from the school group, if you have a school uniform, maybe a friendly passerby can phone your school and get some help for you.
But at the same time, it's bad because they can still identify you in a bad way or a good way. So.
And you don't need your uniform to know which school you go to. You probably know your school uniform. You probably know your school's name itself. You can ask them, excuse me, I'm a bit lost. Can you please call my school? And then you can find it out.
And Ikra?
Also, there are many other ways that you can prevent this, like wearing a bracelet with your school name or number on it. It doesn't always have to be school uniform to prevent stuff if you're getting lost or anything.
Okay, so the smart hallows come together to give a very, very strong response. How the thinkers going to respond?
School uniform also credits to school. So if you do good, like helping the community, people will know what school you're from, and that can create a better view on the school.
So I think that's we've opened a new topic
But
here.
some of them can ask, know in like a bad way, or they can just ask as well.
Okay, I think we'll take something from Adib and something from Ikra.
They can also be bad, so then they'll be able to know, oh look, this student's from this. And
Adib, can you hold them up?
Mostly when people are sending letters to the school, it's normally over complaint. Like on a train, these students are messing around. They'll be able to know because of school uniforms. School uniform isn't only for children who are good. It can also be for children who are bad.
Okay, and Ikra, did you want to? Oh, he just took your point. Okay, do you guys have a response for that?
Yeah.
Okay, Ibrahim.
But it's up to the students to do good or bad. Like if they do good, it can be credited to the school. But at the same time, they should be stopped from doing bad, and obviously that's the school's responsibility. If you're in non-school uniform, it just gets put down to your whole age group. Like I don't know, some people might say, "Oh, look at these young people! Look at this generation. They're like making a thing." Whereas if you're wearing school uniform, it's only credited to your school. So I don't know, it saves more people.
So it's the student's choice as to whether they want to do good or bad. Do you guys want to give one final response to that before I close it off?
It's their choice, but then also if they're wearing non-school uniform, it's also their choice. Like they can inform the police, and the police will find out which school they're going to. Like say if they're doing something bad on the trains or the bus, on the streets, if they're running around on streets, there will be people who will try and find out what school they go to and still write a complaint. Just because you're wearing school uniform doesn't mean that that's the only way to find out which school you're coming from.
Okay, so we end on a very powerful note there from Adib, from the Smart Hallows. So I think that brings an end to the second phase of today's show, quarterfinal show. We've had some very good arguments coming from both teams, a few strange ones as well, such as the washing machine and deodorant. But I think it's been a very enjoyable phase of the show, and I'm sure the judges will agree. After the break, we're going to have the hardest part of the show, which is the judges' questions, where the judges will be quizzing you based on what you've said, based on the topic, and will be asking you some very, very tough questions. So my advice is make sure you're prepared, make sure you're ready. Okay, so before we head over into the third and final part of today's show, we're going to have a very, very short break.